I don't have a camera. Well, I do, but I don't have it hooked up.
Hello, are we live yet?
Yeah, you're very loud.
You like? Good thing we're multi-tracking so you can adjust it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here. There we go. Looks like we're on YouTube, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep,
I got a little ding in my...
So how are we doing multi-tracking? I thought we couldn't do that with StreamYard.
Oh, you can now with the professional one. But you got to pay more.
Oh, okay. So it's a good thing that we have it now.
Hey, we have 3 people watching. Hello,
All
people
right.
watching. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, watchers.
Hello. Hey, why aren't they responding to us?
Hey, you're supposed to,
Sorry,
talk
my
back.
camera's off. If any of you watchers care.
By the way,
Yeah,
we
you-
are in 1080p, so I hope you like. Very good. You like 1080p? Very good for blind people. Yeah, especially with cameras off. Very good, very good.
Exactly.
Oh, we've actually got 4 people watching now, so someone obviously wants
Oh,
to
very
be...
good. Well, it'll
Once
probably
it's
drop
in
down because I
1080p.
just left.
Oh, no, we're back to 3. Oh, well.
Uh-oh.
Oh, poor
Yeah,
Porch.
1080p. Yeah, very good, very good. Maybe next time we'll try 4K. No, I don't think this thing works in
No.
4K, but anyway.
I think 4K might be a problem.
It might be a bit excessive.
Maybe it's my imagination, but the audio does sound a bit better.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
think it
higher
does
bitrate
too.
or something?
I don't
As
know
far as
yet
I know,
until
it's 44, 128.
it
which
does
is a
sound
good bit rate.
cleaner.
Yeah.
It does sound a bit cleaner.
Oh, we've lost one person and we're back to 2. Maybe
Once
they
we
don't
start
like us.
talking about once we start talking about bit rates, people go away.
I guess maybe we should go back to 780p or 720p. Uh-oh. Okay, well, hello, everybody, and welcome to... I should probably give a minute of silence first so Dennis can breathe loudly. Go ahead, Dennis. No, you're supposed to breathe so we can cut out the noise. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Blind Tech Guys podcast. This is episode number 78, maybe? Whatever it is. Anyway,
I think it is, yeah. 78.
Yeah,
78.
78. We did 77
Today-
last week.
today is Sunday, the 21st of March, Monday, whatever day you're watching. Thank you very much for joining us. And my name is... What's my name? I don't know. But anyway, you guys know who I am. And I'm located today in... I don't know. Let's be in Fiji. I'm in Fiji today.
Oh.
And I've got a few guests joining me, but they're sleepy. So hello, sleepy guests. Hello.
Hello there, Nina.
Hi.
Hello. I literally woke up about 20 minutes ago. So hello, everyone. You should be privileged today. Actually, you know when you go to sleep during the late morning and you wake up and it's like very hard to get out of bed. It was just that kind of feeling today. So
Or it's like almost not worth sleeping at all.
yeah, I actually wish I'd stayed up now. But anyway, that's all right. We'll fire up. I might actually go and get myself a beer whilst we're talking art
beer.
and tech.
Oh, very
Yeah,
cool.
do you want a beer?
Right.
Yeah.
I like beer. Beer is very
Maybe
good.
some popcorn and a beer.
Popcorn. Yeah, popcorn and a beer. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. And my love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm very glad that you guys are here with us today. And we also want to thank all the 79 countries now that we have
Ooh.
that are
Awesome.
listening to us, somewhere around there. So we're continuing to grow, and I think we're up to 47 states and the District of Columbia. We haven't hit every state yet. That's a little sad.
Yeah, I
but
wonder
Is
what
the
three
District of
missing.
Columbia, is that like a new country? Like I didn't know America was a part of South America. Very good, you like?
Yeah. North and South Pole, they switch sometimes, and they take the United States along with it,
Oh, good. Oh, very, very, very good then.
Yes.
So we got 79 countries. Is one of them Guatemala? Have we got Guatemala yet?
I haven't seen Guatemala.
No, so the challenge this week, we need a Guatemalian. Is that what they call themselves? Guatemalian, I
Sure.
guess?
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good.
Guatemalan? I don't know.
Yeah. to come on board. So,
Anyway,
but no, thanks for
also-
listening.
Yes, thank
Obviously.
you for listening, and I want to wish the Persians a very happy Nowruz. Very good. New Year. It's a new year. We shouldn't speak Persian on here because I don't know how to even pronounce the stupid. Stupid, but I don't know how to pronounce that.
I did see you advertise that noddles quite a lot, actually. I felt like I was in Persia after I'd seen it about 12 times. It was very good.
Very nice email you sent out there.
Yeah. So
A very
happy
New
noddles.
Year. Happy springtime for those people. It's springtime now, and some people it's getting to be winter time or fall time now. So happy autumn for some of you. And anyway, we have a number of things that we're going to be doing on today's podcast. We are supposed to have a guest speaker, but it's 2 a.m. her time, and I suspect she might still be asleep, but who knows? Anyway, we're going to be talking about art, and we might have to switch things around a little bit, so this is going to be in whatever order it just happens to be in.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll be talking about some art stuff, and we'll also there are some the person is an artist, but also does host some kind of art events, and some of them are virtual. So it'll be interesting to find out how do tech and art intersect, and how you might want to participate if you might want to be an artist. We also did an interview with an individual talking to us about a service that you can listen to audiobooks and some
Was it called something like Silly Sam or something?
TTS books, something like that.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
I think you called it Fred. But anyway, something Sam, which was
Yeah.
actually quite interesting. And I think
So
that
we'll be
one...
doing an interview on that.
Thank you to Brendan for coming on for that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
During the week.
Yep,
good.
and that was a pre-recorded interview, so we'll be playing that with Brendan, and you might be interested, especially if you're in the UK, but it is coming to the US and Aussie land as well.
It's coming to a theatre near you soon.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So
We go to
we'll
those
definitely
still?
want to listen to that, and then we have a very interesting form submission that we need to read. And so I will do my best to read that, and that's about what we got today. So it's a little bit of a different day. We do have some news articles. We'll pop some news articles into the show notes, so check that out. We're not going to go through the news today just because it is a little bit more of a packed podcast, but please check out the news section in the show notes.
I guess it's one of those shows, Nim, that we don't really know what's going to happen until the end. And
Absolutely.
all going well, it'll all go well. And if not, then, we might even throw in some news articles if we
Right.
if we have to talk about that if something falls through. So we'll see how it all pans out. Very good. Yes.
Okay. Well,
I agree with you. I think the artist is still fast asleep.
Maybe we
I would be at 2 in the
maybe
morning.
we hit our listeners with a little bit of Brendan. What do you reckon? We might
Yeah.
cut across to that, and hopefully we can try and drag Claire out of bed. See where she's at. Yes.
yes. Okay. By the way, I do want to thank what are they called? Blind Tech, or no, I'm sorry. Top Tech Tidbits
Tech
for including
Bits.
us in their newsletters. Certainly appreciate them. And I want to thank Strap Tech for including us in their newsletters as well. And we should be having some exciting announcements regarding Strap soon. And they are having a 15% off their strap at the moment. So if you go to their website, you can pre-order Strap for 15% off. Now, I would recommend that you maybe... so part of me is mixed. Some part of me is like, well, you should get on the 15% and get that right away. But part of me says you'd better hold off because the pricing isn't very clear.
Yeah.
And they haven't really addressed that since we were on the podcast with them. They had said that they would and are, but I haven't really heard anything back. Even last week, they said that they asked me if I would like to help them with their stuff, with their website, to determine what was wrong with it, and then I stopped hearing from them again. So I'm just putting this out there that I think that Strap potentially offers a good product. but they're not very responsive, and they're certainly not responsive to fixing issues with their website. And one of the issues with their website is if you go to pre-order it, it'll show the price at $50. Then as soon as you type in all your information and everything's good, it will show, and you put in the promo code to get 15% off. That would be on their website, and we'll put that in the show notes. But anyway, once you do that, it brings the price to, strangely enough, $92.50. How is 15% off of 50 $92.50? I'm not really sure.
Sounds like they're adding 100% on. Very good.
And in their newsletters, they say that the payment is actually $500, not $50 or $92.50. So I don't quite
bang on
understand.
1,000%. Excellent.
They might want to sort that out.
Yeah, so I don't quite understand. It may be that they're charging the $50 or the $92.50 as a hold on your card until the full price is charged.
Are you sure it's in dollars and not in rupiah?
I need to state that.
Yeah.
It's not rupees, is it? Well, it's dollars.
Then it might be a few millions. I don't know.
Yes. That is slightly concerning, but
$5,700, like that person was charged. I came across an article, and a person was charged, supposed to be $5.57. What was entered as 5,000 and something. That's what they were charged for a Starbucks coffee. And they're still fighting months later to get their money back.
That better have been a good coffee. I'll tell you, that's quality coffee there, right there. Wow. But in all seriousness, I think they need to. I'm sure they'll address that, Nim. But it has been a little while. Let's put it that way. I think we've discussed this. It's been a little while,
and they also, as they've said, they've been unresponsive. And so I did want to put this out here on the podcast, and I did let them know that this would be going out on the podcast. Actually, it was supposed to go out last week, but I gave them an opportunity to respond. And they responded, and they said a few things, but then they seem to have dropped off the face of the planet again. And I mean, I understand they're a company and they're busy, and sometimes it takes a while to respond, but this kind of thing is a serious issue, I think, and that I can't recommend someone go and give their credit card information to a company who can't specify upfront pricing.
Well, it's a little bit concerning if you enter in $50 and you go to check out and it's 92 for starters. So that's slightly.
It's a shame because it seems like it could be a really interesting, even game-changing kind of a product if it was, done right.
Yeah,
I would agree, and I think that, I had listened to the podcast, and I believe they had said something about some sensors could get wet, some couldn't. I have concerns going even beyond the pricing, because how does that handle if sensors that can't get wet? Who's responsible for replacing it? What's the cost? I'd love to have them on.
Well, that's the case for any kind of headphones or any kind of other thing, Dennis. So that I don't really see that as much of an issue, honestly. We all know that any product that's released, I don't care if they say it is the cane replacement, will never be the cane replacement, at least not anytime soon.
Not version 1.
But that doesn't mean that it can't augment and it can't do a lot better than anything we currently have on the market.
Yeah.
And that is what I think it does, because this thing is using a lot of different sensors. And the fact is that even vision, your sight degrades in the rain. And so for you to create a bunch of sensors that don't get affected by rain, that's pretty much impossible.
Yeah, I don't know how they'd be able to pull that one off, but yeah.
So, I mean, even vision gets impacted by rain. So I would think I would think that, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. We have to know this is like a first attempt. And we also have to know that the community as a whole hasn't really been behind them. In fact, when I talk to a lot of people, they say, absolutely, do not do a cane replacement. We don't need a cane replacement. What we need is stuff to read our mail. I think that is silliness to the utter extreme.
There's 10,000 programs, and I'm exaggerating, of course, but there's a number of programs that will do it.
I have to say, I'm very frustrated by, and it's exactly the same result here, Nim. I brought it up on a group that I'm on WhatsApp when we talked to them back in, I think it was December we spoke to them. And I literally got, I think, 95% of the people on there were like, why bother wasting your time with this? Like, I don't get that. Why wouldn't you
neither
want
do
to try
I.
something that, okay, it's not going to be the cane replacement, but at least it's going to be doing something more than just reading your mail or...
Yeah.
I would absolutely be
come
willing
on.
to try it and give it a fair look. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's worth
My-
a go, but I definitely do think, though, that they need to get their costs and all this sort of stuff up front very
Yeah,
much
and be
more
transparent
accurate.
about it and
Be
let us know
transparent.
why there
Yeah.
was a delay. Like
kind of
I'm
annoying
also
that
okay with
you know.
$500. I think $500 for a cane replacement for a travel aid, in the scheme of things, in what our AT market charges for things, is actually a
sure,
great
it's
price
reasonable.
for all the
Yeah,
sensors that it has. Is a
100%.
great price. So I'm not even
Yeah.
opposed to paying $500. In fact, I've offered to pay for it outright. I'm not opposed to paying $750, which is probably what the price will be after the pre-order period. Because again, I don't think it's that bad of a price to pay for something like that, but it has to be something that is actually going to work, and it has to be a transparent thing. If I go to buy something, I want to know exactly what I'm paying for. And if it is just a hold on my card for a certain period of time, I really want to know that.
Yeah, but what would have been smarter for them to do? They could have even done it as a bit of an incentive and said, okay, this thing's going to cost you $1,000, let's say from June onwards. But if you order now, the most it'll cost you is $500. Now we have to hold $50 on that card just to ensure that you do actually want the product. And if you turn around and say, oh, look, I don't want it anymore, they should have the right to keep that $50 because they've still got to order the units and get them made. So I wouldn't have a problem with that, but at least they should be transparent and upfront and say, right, this is what it's going to cost. We can give it to you special now for $500 instead of $1,000, whatever it is. So you should expect to pay $500, but we'll hold 50 or hold 100, whatever you want to hold. I don't really care, but at least make it clear. Don't say that you're going to charge $50 and then when you get to the final step, it's 92. That's a bit,
right.
There's a lot of scams on the web, and it kind of puts a little niggle in my mind.
It does,
like,
yeah.
It's
a bit
when
weird.
some company is doing that kind of thing, it's not very good.
no.
And I'm not in the business of advertising companies that scam things. I think this entity is actually legit, and they're doing good things.
Yeah.
But it does put a niggle in the back of your mind when they're not really seeming to
Well,
be
it's a bit
doing
worrying.
beta testing with known people, and they're not really. So I don't know.
I mean, it's better to just not say anything, right? And until you know what you're going to do as a company, especially a small one.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we're going to bring Claire in, and we're going to do our interview with Claire here. So let's bring her in. Hello, Claire.
Good morning from Ireland. It's 2:00 in the morning. So hello, everybody.
Wow.
Hello.
Jeez, I'm amazed you're awake. Wow.
Thank you for joining us. Especially thank you.
I had some technical issues getting in, but I got through it.
Excellent.
Well,
So you haven't been up.
Get in.
You haven't been up all night having Guinness or anything, have you? You've actually been asleep?
No, we're in lockdown 5. No pubs are open.
Oh, well, that's
Wow.
the way it is, I suppose. But
See,
welcome
that
to
would
the
never
show.
happen here. Here, pubs are a necessity. They're essential.
Oh,
Essential
well,
worker.
imagine, surprisingly enough, they're not essential in Ireland. So
Well, Claire, I want to welcome you to the Blind Tech Guys podcast, and I want to thank you for coming on. And I'm grateful that you were able to wake up and and be here for us. And we definitely appreciate that you are here.
Thanks
And
thank you
just-
for having me on.
just some quick introductions. My name is Nimmer, and we have Marco here. Hey, Marco.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon now it is actually. Good afternoon and welcome as well.
Hi,
And then
Marco.
we have Kurt here as well.
Hello. Good,
Hi.
whatever it is. Good middle of the night to you, Claire.
Hi, Kurt. Good afternoon to you too.
And we've got Dennis here as well.
Hi, Dennis.
Well, maybe
Well, he
Dennis
was
went
there.
quiet.
Dennis. Bueller.
You'll hear him when he comes in. He has some good breathing noises.
Okay.
You'll hear him when he comes. Anyway, very grateful that you're here. And if you can, just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what it is you're doing here.
Okay. Well, my name is Clare McLaughlin. I'm based in Bandon in West Cork in Ireland. and I'm an artist. Now, I'm a sighted artist, but one of my big projects is Scene on Scene, which explores the access to art for visually impaired people. And I started this project in 2014, and it's still going on today. We've had over 70 events, or over 60 events, sorry. And, since lockdown, we've now gone on Zoom. So we visit galleries, even though they're closed at the moment. We visit galleries with the visually impaired community, and through the medium of a tactile pack, we explore some of the artworks that are on display.
Well, that's fascinating. And I think that's like what we're interested in, and why we brought you on is that is this intersection of tech and art. We do talk about tech stuff on here, but of course, the idea that we can do art stuff through tech and Zoom, I think, is kind of innovative. So maybe tell us a little bit more about this Scene on Scene, and what exactly is it, or what's involved, and how does that work over Zoom?
Okay, well, Scene on Scene initially, I was doing a project, and I was kind of doing some research on how accessible art was for blind and visually impaired people. And through the research, I began to wonder, because art is predominantly visual and the experience in a gallery is predominantly visual, in that you can't touch the art, and mostly they have signs, do not touch. And, the various other sensory items like sound and smell, all of these senses were sidelined in the philosophy of art. So the predominant sense was visual. So then I said, gosh, I wonder what it's like for a visually impaired person to go to a gallery in Ireland. So I contacted all the galleries, and some of them were very receptive. And I started doing Scene on Scene. Now, the first visit, I had one visually impaired person, and luckily the exhibition was a community art exhibition, so there wasn't that level of preciousness about the artworks. So we were able to touch a lot of the things, and then there was a sound element in it. And so, and the participant was 100% blind. And it was a great learning for me and for them. So we went through the exhibition, section by section, and the most engagement was with the sound and the tactile elements, because you need a portal to get into an art piece. The verbal description, while it's something, but I think you need to be able to touch or smell or hear, the artwork, as it were. So that's what kind of spurred me on. And from there, I've done over 50 events. And the Zoom started then when I was saying, gosh, lockdown, we've been in lockdown here 3 times. And through all that, through level 5 and level 4, the galleries were closed. And so there was no way of physically visiting the gallery. So I decided to try it on Zoom. So I spoke with the Crawford Gallery in Cork and Void Gallery in Derry in Northern Ireland. And I came up with a tactile box for the exhibition in Cork, which was invisible light. And so I came up with tactile elements for it. And I spoke with the artists who were doing the exhibition and explained the project to them. So with the first Scene on Zoom was to the Crawford, to invisible light, and through the medium of the tactile box, which I sent out to the participants in advance of the visit, we went through the exhibition and speaking to the artists. And
well, Claire, that makes sense, because I was actually wondering how do the how does a person get an idea of what, obviously the seen unseen stuff is more obvious when you're actually there and you can do it, but if they're on Zoom, it's kind of a bit hard to feel it through a computer, so
Yeah,
or
I know.
to get a sense of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, there was one piece in that exhibition called Banana Music, and bananas emit gamma rays. And so the artist had a Geiger counter measuring the gamma rays coming from the banana, which they then wrote a computer program to play music, and the music was played through the medium of Tibetan bells. So everybody at home on the Zoom, seen unseen, had a banana. And if they hadn't eaten the banana, they were able to see, explore the banana. And we were talking about it and the fact that the gamma rays, and then they were able to hear the music that was then transmitted. So we had a huge discussion around it. And a lot of the seen unseeners are tech guys as well, actually. We have one girl is, she does a radio program called Shakeloose. And so she's a DJ, and there's a sound technician, and there's various other tech guys. So the conversation around the art piece with the artist was hugely engaging.
Yeah. Can you give us a sense, Claire, of what actually comes in these tactile boxes that you send out to the seen unseen Zoomers before the meetings, and how much of it is, technical or digital versus just things that you've crafted like by hand? I'm just trying to imagine a little more what this is like here.
Okay, so first of all, I go into the exhibition. Now, luckily that day, or for that exhibition, I was able to get into the exhibition before the lockdown happened. Like, so the exhibition was put up, and literally the day it was due to open, we were in lockdown, so it never physically opened to the public. But I had gone in the day before and I'd done my research on the notes from the gallery, and I was talking to Emma, who's the education coordinator in the gallery. So, I had gone through and I picked out 3 of the exhibits in the exhibition that I thought would be, that we could create tactile elements, so that the seen unseen would be more meaningful. So banana music was one of them, and obviously I didn't post to banana because it would have been blank.
Right. Well, it would have been well and truly ripe by the time it got there, I suppose.
Especially with postal service speeds these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And overloaded here because everybody's doing everything online. So anyway, people were able to get hold of a banana. And so they were, so they had the banana in their hand. So they could, when we were talking about the piece, it was much easier with the banana in their hand that they could imagine a microphone. Now, the artist described the table that it was sitting on, which was a hexagon, and it was yellow and black, for the sign of danger, and also the nuclear sign. And they explained the setup of it then, but everybody listening on the Zoom had the banana in their hand, so it just gave them an in to what the piece was about. Then the other tactile elements that I posted, we did another of the exhibits in that exhibition was about X-rays, and it was around Halloween, and that I was getting the tactile packs together, and they had in the local discount store, they had little skeletons, plastic skeletons. So they were ideal because now they were life size. So you had the kind of the hinged arms and elbows and knees. So from the X-ray, exhibit was of a whole body, if you like, but it was made up of different people's X-rays. So so you saw a whole body, but the parts were all from different people. So the skeleton that I posted, people were able to feel the different skeleton parts, and so then they were able to kind of imagine what the whole piece was looking like. And then, of course, the discussion around people breaking their knee and breaking their hand and breaking their wrist
Right.
and having x-rays for different things. So that was a way in for that one.
So how many people did you kill and knees did you break and things before that when you posted it? You said you had to post a bunch of them, so
thankfully no humans were harmed.
oh.
Oh, well, that's good. Can I ask, Claire, with the artists, so I'm just having a look on your Facebook page here. You obviously have quite a number of people involved. Are they mainly from Ireland, or do you have people involved all over the shop?
All over the shop, actually. And from Zoom, it's so much easier for people to access it. The first one, we had 40 people. And we had people from as far away as South Africa.
Oh, wow.
So we had South Africa, Holland, England, Northern Ireland, and Ireland. But it's spreading all the time. I have a couple of people from America now interested in the next one, which is next Friday. But next Friday, we're not actually visiting a gallery. That's what I found, that, because the galleries are closed, we have a gallery visit next month. But this month, I'm doing an art exploration myself with the group. So from January, it was difficult to get a physical gallery one because all the galleries are closed. So I was saying, okay, we're going to do something else. So the first one was an exploration of Marcel Duchamp, who was a famous artist he was French, he was born in France, but he ended up in New York. And he was the father of conceptual art, huge artist. And so we explored his ready-mades, and everybody on the Zoom workshop actually made a conceptual art piece after Marcel Duchamp, using his technique of ready-mades. So I asked everybody to have a sweeping brush, and so I explained how Marcel Duchamp did the ready-mades, in that he chose an ordinary everyday item and elevated it to the realm of art by displaying it in a different way, by signing it, and by choosing it. So everybody on the Zoom got their sweeping brush. They signed it in their own name, or whatever name they chose to sign it in, and they named it. And people hung it on display, some by the back door. In fact, one of the participants hung the brush by the back door and called it brush stroke. And every time she went by, she stroked it. So there are other ways of, because we had to.
I thought you were about to say there are other ways of skinning a cat then, but you didn't.
Well, as you can imagine, there were very interesting discussions around Marcel Duchamp and brushes.
Oh, I'm sure there would have been.
And actually,
no,
funnily enough, we were talking about sweeping brushes, and it came up that Bism was the name used for a brush in Northern Ireland and also in the west of Ireland, and interestingly enough, also in South Africa. So you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I think the concept of actually doing the art on Zoom and all that sort of stuff, I'm amazed that you can actually get that to work, because that would clearly take a lot of forward thinking and planning. So I'm glad that you actually managed to get that to happen, because I can imagine that initially you would have probably turned around and said, oh God, what are we going to do here? It's going to be hard. I mean,
Yeah, you have to be inventive,
Yeah, definitely.
Mark, the thing is that, the group, I know a lot of this group for years, and they're terrifically interested in art, and the discussions are amazing. Now, what the kind of art I do is called socially engaged practice. So it's about engaging people, and it's more about the social engagement. Now, the exploration of art, obviously, is what the project is about, but the social engagement in doing that is the art for me.
Sure.
Well, how if someone wants to get involved? I mean, I guess after so now people are hopefully getting more vaccinated, and so we're getting to the point where hopefully these lockdowns maybe not be necessary for too much longer. So, what is there plans to continue the Zoom visits, or
Well,
and if so, how do people get involved?
Well, how people get involved is they email me. So my email is Clare McLaughlin email@gmail.com. And the spelling is ClareMcLauglin email EMAIL @gmail.com.
And we'll be sure to put that in our show notes. And so if you want to get involved, definitely email.
And then actually, interestingly, sorry, Marco, I'm doing a project called Shul, and Shul is the Irish for walk, and similarly, I. So I thought Shul was a brilliant name for this project, and Shul is a sculptural walk. So, excuse me, the last Shul I did was in 2018, and it was on Cape Clear Island, and a group of 50. About 30 of the 50 were visually impaired or blind, and we walked from harbour to harbour on Cape Clear Island. So, and during the walk, we wound up a sculpture of the length of the walk, and everybody took a turn in making the sculpture. So at the end of it, we had a sculpture of the walk.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm doing that project. Now, it won't be the same as the one on Cape Clear, but I'm doing it on Rathlin Island, which is up in Northern Ireland, off the coast of Antrim, and next stop Scotland. So we're planning on doing that in September, and fingers crossed that everybody will be vaccinated and we'll all be able to physically do it, because it would be difficult to do that one over Zoom. However, we will do it.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a challenge.
right.
We will do it on Zoom if we have to. But anyway, that's a very interesting one. So get your name in for that, because the numbers will be limited because of COVID, and because we have to take into account that the islanders may not want people to visit. So it'll be dependent on health regulations, obviously. But
so for individuals who want to get involved in Africa or America or other places, for those people who want to get involved, are there plans on continuing the remote sessions?
Oh, yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
in addition to the existing?
Absolutely. I've had that question asked, will we continue? Because interestingly, one of the Seen Unseeners, Barry, is doing a podcast about Seen Unseen. And he was asking me that very question. And I said, look, if people want it, I'll provide it. So, if there is a demand, of course, we will facilitate people to engage with the project in any way that we can.
Oh, that's great.
Excellent. Is there a cost for participation?
No, there's no cost, and there's no cost to the participants. Now, up to last year, I was funding this project from 2014 myself, but now I'm getting paid to do it, which is great. And there's funding applied for Shul Void Gallery in Derry are applying for funding for that, and hopefully that will come through. So
excellent.
There's no cost at all to the participants.
Very nice.
Well, is there anything else that you'd want our audience to know, or is there anything else that you'd like to tell us?
I'd love all of your audience to come to Seen Unseen, and they'd be more than welcome. And please do engage, because art is such an uplifting thing to have in your life, and art is available to people with visual impairment. So please don't think that there's nothing for you in a gallery. A gallery is a public space, and you should have access to art. So please ask for it, and please engage with Seen Unseen. I'd love to have you there.
Then my final question for you: do you have any advice for individuals in other countries who might want to get these physical type tours set up? I mean, I know there are a lot of places where they're not allowed to touch art and that kind of thing. Do you have any advice for approaching those conversations or getting involved for people in different countries?
Be persistent. It's chicken and egg. You're going to have, if people don't ask for a facility, it will never be provided. So please ask, go to your art gallery and ask, and be persistent. Don't be fobbed off, because art is for you. Art is for everyone.
Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you quickly, Claire. I'm thinking back to a time in my college classes a couple years ago where someone from the biology department actually had me come in and look at a whole... It was a textbook they had written about evolution, adapted into Braille. And with about, every page, there were various 3D printed models of, the Galapagos Island turtles and all of those biology classroom things in that context. And I'm wondering if you've explored 3D printing or any other kind of technical means of reproducing visual art in a way that might be tactily accessible.
Yes, and the thermoform printing is... I've explored that. In fact, the National Gallery in Ireland do that. They have a thermoform printer, the only one in the country, actually.
Oh, wow.
So that if they have if you had a line drawing, the simplest way to explain that is, so say if you did a very simple line drawing of a flower, the ink, when you put it through the thermoform printer, raises, so it's like an embossed.
Oh, that's like the old days when we used to have, we used to do that actually in art class many years ago when I was a kid. We used to have like a board, it was a rubber board, and then you'd stick a piece of plastic paper over the top of it, and it was like thermoform paper, but if you pressed down with a pen, it would actually, you could actually feel what you were drawing. So it would actually like push through. Yeah, correct, like embossing, exactly.
So that's the way they do it. Now, I think there's, myself personally as an artist, I think there's no substitute for being in touch with a physical piece of art or a replica of it, like as in the materials used. So, for instance, we had a very interesting visit to the Crawford, where we explored different craftspeople in Cork. And they very kindly gave replicas of the items that were on display so that we could touch them. But not alone were you touching what the artist made, but you were touching the exact materials that were used in the artwork. So you had a better connection. While the 3D printing is brilliant, I think there's no substitute for being in touch with the physical hand of the artist, if you know what I mean. You have a direct connection to the artist when you're touching the materials that they've touched.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, for anybody on YouTube, there's a few people watching. If you have any questions, throw those in the comments. Otherwise, I definitely want to thank you so much for coming on, Claire.
Thank you very much, and thanks very much for being interested in my project. I'm really delighted, and while I'm as an artist, I'm not hugely technical. I have great admiration for technical people, and I think what you're doing is really good. And I know lots of the scene on sceners will be delighted to be in touch with you.
Well, I actually know Barry as well, Claire. I'm pretty sure it's the same Barry. So if you do speak to him, because if he's the same person I'm thinking of, say good day from Marco, because I do know of him.
Barry,
in the podcast.
Barry O'Donnell, yeah.
Yeah, from Ireland.
From Ireland, that's Barry. And Barry's doing a podcast on Scene Unseen at the moment. And he's doing Trojan work on it. So when that's released, I'll give you the link.
Excellent.
Definitely, we'll share that with our audience, and maybe we'll
Carmen,
look at having him on too.
Carmen Millar. Carmen is a DJ. She works. Barry and herself work together on a community radio station. Carmen does the Shakeloose program. That's a really brilliant music program. I'll email you some of the links to that because they're really brilliant.
Sure.
You could be dancing around the studio there.
Excellent.
Carmen.
Well, if I shake
always-
too much, I might be really loose. Who knows? But
We always need to add some entertainment to our podcast. So.
well, no, we really appreciate you getting up at this ungodly hour. So
Absolutely.
I'm sure everyone's
Well,
impressed
like
with
we
that.
are, I think there's no substitute for a live conversation, especially in these times. So thank you very much.
No problem.
As well, you are welcome to come back on at any time, and definitely reach out to us with any information about any upcoming events or anything else, and we'll definitely share those out.
Great. And next Friday, if anybody listening would like to join in, next Friday is an art exploration, and it's at 2:00. That's GMT on Zoom. And if you're interested, email me and I'll send you the link. And we're exploring Van Gogh, the artist Van Gogh, on Friday. So
wow.
I'll
All
be asking people to have some tactile elements that they have at home, everyday objects, as a way in to Van Gogh's artwork. So, and that kind of lasts about 40 minutes.
And one more time, Claire, what was the email to get in touch with you?
The email is Clare McLaughlin email@gmail.com. And the spelling is CLARE MCLAUGHLIN. Email.
And we'll have that in the show notes for everyone to look at. So
Fantastic.
great. Thank you so much, Claire, for coming on, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon.
Thanks a million, guys. Okay, and have a
Yeah,
good.
thanks, Claire.
Okay.
Hopefully you can get
Lovely.
back
We'll
to
see you
sleep.
again. Yeah, well, you can go and have a bit of snooze time now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you've earned
gonna
it.
have-
Either that or have a very early tea or coffee or something. I don't know. But
I think I'll have my breakfast and go back to bed.
yeah, I don't blame you. All right, we'll talk again soon.
Okay, guys. Thanks a million.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was an interview with Clare McLaughlin, and she's an artist from Ireland talking to us about her project Seen Unseen. If you want to get involved with that, definitely check out the show notes with her email. We want to thank Claire, and definitely something worth checking out. I think we do talk about tech in here, but we'll throw other things in here so long as they relate to some extent to tech stuff, and doing art in Zoom is tech related, so why not?
Yeah. Well, I got to say, I had never thought that we'd interview somebody in the art space, but there you go. We've done it today, so quite cool.
That's right.
Very cool.
I will agree. I never.
Oh wow, he's back.
I thought you dropped off the planet or something. I was like, hello,
I was
Dennis.
wondering where you went, Dennis.
I
Where have
just
you been?
didn't have any questions. I couldn't think of anything.
You were obviously way too
We were asking you questions, though. And Did you go have a beer or snooze? I thought I heard someone snoring. Was that you?
I went and grabbed a coffee for a second.
Yeah, well, I might be doing that fairly shortly when we have a chat to Brendan, I suspect, because I've heard that interview a few times, so hearing it again, well, I don't really need to do that right now. But it was a very good chat that we had, and what did we talk to Brendan about there, Nim? Where's he from again?
I think he's from Melbourne, Australia, but he's in
Originally,
Washington,
yes.
D.C. at the moment or something.
Was he? I thought
that's
he was
where
in
he's at.
Missouri, actually. Or
District of
something.
Columbia.
I don't know. I can't remember.
He gets around.
I'm sure he tells us in his interview.
He does
but
tell
anyway,
us, yes.
I just don't know that here in the U.S. with how expensive art paintings are. I mean, it's nice in theory, but I just don't know that you would get, say an art gallery in New York City or art museum in Philly. I don't know that you would get them on board with letting people touch.
Well, I have to say, I thought that wouldn't happen here. I went to it because my partner's very much into art, and we went to some gallery in, where was it? I think it was in WA, in Western Australia. I can't remember now.
You went
And
to
I
an
never
art
thought that
gallery with my partner? That's cool.
Yeah, you like? And I kind of backed Claire up here because I did ask them if it was possible to touch some of the pieces that they had there because, I mean, well, walking through an art gallery as a blind person is not the most exciting of things to do, but they actually did allow it. So I think I do think that if you do ask, you sometimes do get. If you don't ask, you don't ever know.
Times you might need to ask a manager. You might need to ask up the chain, but definitely ask. And the other thing too is if it is something like a painting, obviously it's a flat surface. What are you going to really touch?
Yeah, you're not going to get much out of it. But if you're going to touch something that's a sculpture or a I don't know, a piece that's got something on it that might be of interest, that's patterns or whatever, then at least you might get something out of that rather than having someone describe it. I mean, it's not as well. You don't really need to be there.
That's not the same.
Yeah,
and it sounds like a lot of her work is actually taking whatever the art is and then creating some form of tactical replicas or a way to create an imagery of what that is. So it isn't necessarily all about touching.
And I think it was very clever that they sent the stuff out before they did the Zoom. That's actually really forward-thinking, in my view, to actually have the guys have all that artwork or whatever it was available and then actually do that. That's pretty cool. So
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a space I'd like to see evolve, and I'd like to see it become more wide. Because, unfortunately, I could see, like I said, resistance here, and it's a matter of just getting these places on board with, hey, blind people would like to take part in art too. And
actually, a lot of blind people couldn't give two shits less about art. And the thing is,
I've noticed that.
The thing is that if more blind people were on board about actually wanting more art, Marco laughing. At least he's awake now.
But, oh man, that was just so funny because that was exactly what I was thinking when I went into this article. Oh, for fuck's sake, why the hell am I here? I might have to edit that part of the podcast.
Yeah, you might. But I mean, to be fair, a lot of blind people thought that same way about described movies in the 90s and early,
Well, I got to say, when that all came in the early 2000s, Kurt, I used to think, God, why the hell have we got this shit for? Like, seriously, I can watch a movie without this audio description, and to be honest with you, I still kind of think that
Dennis
sometimes.
Is dying, guys.
I mean, I think that sometimes too, but I mean, by and large, I think the attitude of the blind community's changed.
Oh no, it's definitely changed. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm getting at is since blind people don't give two shits about art, what needs to happen is if you want more art stuff to be available to blind people, you need to care about it.
And
that's the thing. Like, so if you want something, and I think this is what Claire said, and it's true for anybody really. If you want something, don't just hear the word no and say, okay, yeah, they said no, that's fine.
Yeah, that's it, bad luck. I'm not gonna do anything about it. If you want
something, pursue it and get it. Even if that means you have to ask 3 or 4 or 5 times or put it in a newspaper that they said no or do whatever
or make it publicly known that, these guys aren't doing this and it should be,
push and push and push because that's the way we get change. Unfortunately, this world is built for non-disabled white people, frankly. And if you are disabled or not a white person, and it depends on the country you live in. Actually, some places in Africa, it's more like black people, but it depends. But anyway, this world is made for whatever society you live in, for the majority in that society that you live in.
Yeah.
And it's not made for you and me and other blind people. And so if we, as blind people, want specific rights or specific access to certain things, I'm sure we're going to get told no. I've been told no about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then I end up doing it anyway.
And I think there is almost an acquired skill or, an art, I guess, of doing that persistently, but not being so, angry about it that people don't want to talk to you. It's...
certainly.
No, you have to...
Be persistent, but, cheerful.
You have to be level-headed, cheerful, calm, and explain why... Why do I want it? I would like
when
to
you say, I'm going to rip your head off, you just do it in a quiet voice. When you say, calm, quiet voice. And it works.
Yeah.
So
it was like the other day when this girl was came up to me and she kept going at my dog. And I turned around and very cheerfully said, "Are you okay there?" But apparently Alicia was telling me that she looked at me as though I was about to, like I'd said something that was completely wrong. But, I did very cheerfully look over my shoulder and say, "Are you okay there?" And then she walked off. Very good.
So I guess, to Dennis's point, I disagree. I think that, maybe some places will certainly say no, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, and that doesn't mean that you can't be persistent, and it doesn't mean that you won't get in. I have seen articles where places in New York, strangely enough, are actually allowing blind people to touch art.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Thing.
I had went years ago, and I'm going back when I was in school. We went to a trip.
This is back in the 50s, guys, just to let you know.
It was the 60s, actually.
You remember those days, Nimmer?
No, I wasn't even a figment of the imagination of my grandfather, let alone my father.
And there was absolutely no description. We went to an art museum in D.C., and there was no description, nothing. And you couldn't touch any of the exhibits. So,
yeah.
But
I think if you want to do that, then definitely be persistent about it. And I think the descriptions, it's kind of a personal preference. I actually hate audio description. And I know I'm probably very unique among blind people because I know a lot of blind people will kill for audio description. I absolutely hate it. Like the fact there's another voice adding content and a lot of times isn't just describing, but actually interjecting, even if it's just with their tone. Drives me up the fucking wall. I hate it.
I've got to say, the one thing that I most get annoyed with the audio description, and this happens especially in the UK, is that they turn the volume of the actual movie down to a point where it's literally at about a third of the volume, and it's really irritating. Now, if you do the audio description, whoever's out there, if you're listening, leave the bloody volume at the same volume, and at least have them just slightly over the top, but don't turn the stupid thing down to where it's literally at half volume. That really shits me off.
See, I've seen the opposite here, where some of the descriptions are so low that all they're doing is adding background noise, but you can't really hear
I've
what
heard that
saying.
too. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of audio description. I know.
I'd rather have the audio description quiet. See, if they do that, at least it's not interfering too much. But when you've got it literally belting out, and the stupid things, the movie or whatever you watch, or usually it's a show or something, is so quiet that you can't even hear what's going on. It's like, that is irritating.
No, I understand all of those. I have it on like by default on my Netflix and Prime, but sometimes I'll turn it off because I definitely have seen some where they're saying things that are not really necessary.
See, there's certain shows that I will have it on for, Kurt, but I've got to say, if you're watching a cop-type show or something like that, if you listen, you can really, for me anyway, I can still...
Yes.
So
you kind of know what's going on. I mean, you can't
100%.
really...
So part of me, for me at least, watching a show or a movie isn't necessarily just about knowing what's going on in the movie, but it's somewhat like, what do I imagine is going on in the movie?
Sure.
Versus what the description is saying, because
what
the description interferes with it to me. And so, and by the way, when I go to movies, half the time I end up falling asleep in 5 minutes, and then I start snoring and drooling, and then about I don't know, halfway through I might wake up and then fall asleep again, and then I'll wake up at the end and I'm like, oh wow, that was a quick movie, and it was like 2 hours long. So I'm not the right person to be talking about movies and
so you grab your popcorn and you grab your love and then you grab your night's sleep. Very good. I like it.
Yeah, I'd rather be outdoors, so I'm not the right person to be talking about movies in general. And I know
I've got to say, I'm not much of a movie goer either. I'd rather watch a movie at home than go and...
Yeah, I'm not a huge...
I don't know.
When I do watch a movie, I'd much rather, like, I don't know. I'm a fan of, like, I don't know, James Bond movies or something, like action movies. So if I want to watch an action movie, it's true. I don't quite know exactly what's going on, but part of watching it is sort of imagining that whatever might be going on. And a lot of the times when I watch the description, my idea of what's going on is pretty accurate, and sometimes it's not, but then the description disappoints me because I'm like, oh, it's just this happened.
Oh, and the funniest thing is when they do the descriptions and they come out with, he smiles at her wistfully, and it's like, well, you can kind of know that he's going to be, like, it's pretty obvious, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's too much detail. You don't need that much interjecting.
100%.
That is irritating.
Now, one show that would be used for described was the old MacGyver.
I like the old MacGyver. I've got to say, the only show that I've actually found it really useful for is something like the what's that stupid thing called, the Guards of the Galaxy, or something like one of those sorts of like sci-fi type things where there is a hell of a lot going on. Like if you've literally just got sound with no with no speaking at all, and it goes on for like 10, 20 minutes, that is kind of useful for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But if you've got like people, talking backwards and forwards, then it's, I don't know, pretty obvious.
Anyway, I don't know if you fucks want to just do the listener emails and then I can play the interview, or if you want to sit around for 35 minutes and then do all that later at the end. So it's up to you guys, but we can reorder things since it'll be edited
do it
out
now
in the
because
podcast
I want to make a coffee.
Oh, you want to make a coffee? All right, so we're going to play the interview by what's his nuts? What's his name?
Brendan Lewis.
Brendan Lewis. There we go.
From Melbourne, originally from Kew, which is a very affluent eastern suburb in Melbourne.
I'd rather live in P, because at least then you can take a pee whenever you feel like it. Anyway.
You've done that a few times on the BTG channel.
You already live there, I think.
Oh, my.
And maybe by the end of the interview, we might have an idea of what the company name was, because honestly, I've just completely skipped my mind.
I'm blanking it as well.
Simple Sam, I think it was called, or something like that. I don't know.
Freddy or.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Freddy Krueger. Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, I'm going to play. There's actually two files that I'm going to play. The first one is the actual recording. And in the recording, I don't know what. There are some issues with the smart speaker working. And it didn't actually work. So then he sent us another recording where the smart speaker actually worked. So what you're going to hear on YouTube is I'm going to take a little pause, of course, share the screen, and get that recording going. And then once that one ends, it'll be about 30 minutes long, somewhere around there. Then I'll pause and play the next recording. So that's what's going to happen. And so I hope you have your movie, your popcorn. Well, don't get your movie. This is important. Get your popcorn, your love, your whatever, and enjoy. And if you need to, leave any comments in the description and or in the chat, and I will respond to those. Thanks, everyone. So here we go. Let's see. We'll share the screen. All right, I'm getting this up here, and then I'll go ahead and play it. All right, let's see here. Oh, why is it not letting me play it? Having a little bit of a technical difficulty. We'll be with you guys very shortly. Oh, it's because it's an MP3.
I'm just saying they hear them that you haven't got. Are you sharing it? Because you haven't popped up. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Not yet. I'm having to play it a little bit differently because this is an MP3. I apologize, guys. This is a little bit of just a little bit longer, and then we'll. Okay, I'm still downloading this file, so I apologize, guys. It'll be just one more second.
Do you want me to play it on my end, or are you good to go?
If you have it, you can play it on your end. Mine is still downloading for some reason. It's just taking a long time.
Shouldn't be that long. That's interesting. All right, let's see if...
We'll see which one of us gets to it first.
Well, you might get to it first, because I've got to load it up still myself.
Yeah, it's still downloading. I don't know why it's taking so long, though.
That's weird. It's only like
It's at 50
60
megs
megs
so
or
far.
something. Yeah, weird. Don't know why it's so slow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whilst
My
we're
internet,
doing
for
this,
whatever
Nim,
reason,
maybe
is-
we should mention, and I know that we haven't talked about it yet, do we need to thank anyone for donations or anything like that during the week, or maybe let people know how they can
I
do
don't
all
think
of
I
that
saw
stuff?
any donations this week, but I do want to thank everyone for any past donations that you've made. And if you'd like to donate, definitely join us at, or find the donation link. I do have the recording now, but find the donation link at blindtechguys.com. And that will certainly be a place where you can download that. So, very good.
Excellent. All right, let's see.
All right,
if we-
let's go ahead and play this now.
all right.
And I will share the screen. Chrome tab. All right, here we go. We're going to start the interview right now. We have Brendan, and he's here to talk to us about the RealSAM speaker. And Brendan, how are you today?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Just finished up a day of work and doing pretty well. Tell us a little bit of something about you, and are you here to talk to us about today?
I'm an Australian. I live in Bethesda, Maryland at the moment. I've been here for about 18 months. I work in Washington, D.C. I'm the Global Head of Business Development for RealThing AI and in charge of our realSAM product group. And realSAM is our assistive technology for visually impaired people. So the reason I'm here today is we've just done something in the UK, which is it's kind of new and it's innovative and unique. So traditionally we've had a product in the marketplace called realSAM Pocket, which is a voice-operated phone and digital assistant and media player. So the visually impaired community in the UK can use it to make phone calls, add contacts, connects up to Be My Eyes. It's got a video magnifier on it. It's got a navigation tool, and they can also stream a large variety of libraries. And at the beginning of March in the UK, we've just launched a kind of what we think of as being a little brother version of that. We've taken a Google speaker and we've enabled it so that if people want to talk to it, they can get some of the realSAM experience. So they can, when they start it and they ask it to talk to realSAM, we take over control of the speaker from Google and we start engaging with the person directly. So they can read books from from our libraries. They can search our libraries. They can do simple searches from, children can say things like, read me Mary Poppins, and they'll get it. Or you could do complex iterative searches. So read me a books with title, The Sea, and then the next iteration you could say about old men, to get Old Man in the Sea, or you could say something like, read me books by Wells, then you could say About Martians, and you'd find yourself listening to The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. So we've currently got about 27,000 books on the device. We've got it from the Calibre Library in the UK. This is the UK version. We have the Calibre Library, the Torch Trust, which is a Christian library. We stream LibriVox, and we're about to start streaming Project Gutenberg books.
The speaker itself, is that something obviously you can carry around, unlike the skill that you can set up on an Alexa? Is that right? Is that how the system sort of works?
Well, actually, no, it's sitting on a. We released the Alexa version next month. By the way, this month we did the Google Action this month and the Alexa skill next month. But the interesting thing is, and so it's just a standard, Google speaker that on special you can pick up for less than $30. The interesting thing though is that if you have the Google Assistant app on your phone, or if you've got the Alexa app on your phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone, you can actually still access the service as well. So people don't actually need a speaker; they can just speak to their phone, bring up Google Assistant, tell it to talk to RealSAM, and then start engaging and streaming books.
But if they need the speaker, then they can purchase it from you guys?
Actually, no, we're not selling the speakers. We're here to help the visually impaired community. And we find with the handset business, we spend an awful lot of time dealing with Android problems and dealing with network problems. We sell the device in the UK with a network plan with O2 Telefonica. There'll be people that will say, I can't do this, I can't do that, this is not working. My phone's decided not to reboot. So we're actually in many ways pleased not to be in the hardware business anymore. We're in the software business, we're in the digital business. And this product that we have is pure digital. What we found with this product is that people are happy with a pure digital engagement. They're happy to set up an account online without necessarily speaking to a call center. And everything about it is a pure digital flow. So, and we've yet to determine this because it's all a bit experimental because no one else has done it. So we don't have anyone else to refer to. But our assessment at the moment is that the support needs of our clients are going to be a lot lower with the speaker product than they are with the pocket product.
This product is called RealSAM. So are the books on the system, are they real or are they fake books?
Where this came from is that when we first started, and when the business first started, and this was before my time, it was around the 2010 mark. And in fact, they were looking at a toy, and a talking toy and a network toy and using this technology, which sitting underneath it for the technical buffs is that with what we basically have is an intelligent agent system with a voice interface to it. So it runs around and does things for you as compared to, say, speaking to a speaker in normal mode or using Siri or something, which is really just about accessing information. Our interface is more about doing things. The first version of this, which was the disability commissioner in Australia had indicated that he was having a problem getting his newspapers quickly. He could listen to the radio, but he really wanted to listen to newspapers and didn't want to wait for a week for his news. So we invented this system, and we originally called it SAM, or Simple Accessible Media. The company's name was RealThing Entertainment, and so we started calling the first version of the device RealSAM, which we segued into RealSAM Pocket, and now we have RealSAM Speaker. So now we talk about the RealSAM service is being delivered on the RealSAM speaker, or it's being delivered on the RealSAM Pocket.
And is Sam male or female?
You can make it sound however you like. So one of the beautiful things about where we live is you can choose the voice. And in fact, it starts to get really interesting too, because we're licensing a new set of voices for the device. And there are more attractive voices. There a whole lot more accents because everyone generally likes their own accent. But I also discovered poking at it that there's also thrown into the bundle a number of celebrity voices. So you can actually have the device speaking to you with Obama's voice. We don't have this today, but we will have this within a month when we've deployed the new devices. You can choose Arnold Schwarzenegger or Obama or...
I prefer a female Sam.
Now, just to make this really clear, Brendan, for listeners, if I have a Google speaker, can I then use this service? Can I just say, OG, I want to use RealSAM?
So the flow is as follows. If you have a Google speaker, you can say, OG, talk to RealSAM, and it will start. And because you haven't used it before, the first thing it's going to ask you is what's your access code. Now you need to get an access code, you need to go to our website, www.inyourpocket.net. and register.
Okay, and then obviously once you reel off the access code, then off you go. You just say, can you read, I don't know, the age, for instance, or something like that.
So we don't have news. We don't have Australian newspapers on the device at the moment, but it's as simple as, so like, because it's a speaker, you can interrupt it at any time. So a voice interface, as you may be aware, is a bit different from a visual interface, in that a visual interfaces converted to voice are kind of not the same. These are different mediums. It's a bit like reading a book versus watching a movie. They're different mediums. So one of the things about voice interface is it has unlimited real estate. We don't have to think about how many pixels there are. We can have as much as we like. So people talk to us about advanced mode or simple mode, and we say, well, you don't need an advanced mode or a simple mode. Just talk to it. And if you don't use some of the facilities, you don't use them. Just because you're not saying to the device, configure Wi-Fi, it's not like we have a little bit of the screen that says configure Wi-Fi and you're not touching it. You just, like, the real estate is really unlimited. So the downside of that is generally that the device is what we would call verbose. So it'll talk to you. But with all our products, you can cut them off at any time.
And I guess the other question for listeners, and I'm sure they'll be interested, can you speed or decrease the speed of the voices? Because some people like a fast voice, some like a slower speed voice.
With the speaker at the moment, you can only increase the voice speed very slightly. That's something we're working on in the next couple of months. One of the beauty of these devices is everything can be updated live. So we've got people working on this all the time, adding new features, adding new content, what we call new talents to it. So and we call them talents to differentiate it from, say, when we're talking about skills or actions, adding new talents to speed up and slow down.
On our podcast, a lot of our audience is in the U.S., and I noticed that you're in the U.S. What are you doing in the U.S.? I thought you were talking about this being a U.K. product.
The theory is that I'm in the U.S. having a great adventure, but as we know, for the last 12 months, it hasn't been that exciting. The reason that I'm in the US, though, that the formal reason is that about 18 months ago, the Library of Congress came to us and said, we really like your technology. We want to prototype a device with it. And so we did a little bit of work with them. They then ran a tender process, which we won. And we built a version of realSAM Pocket specifically for the Library of Congress, which they're now about to start testing with users and have a look at it, because I believe they're very interested in the idea of having a voice interface for the next generation of technology. So their digital audio book readers will still be around for a long time, but they want to experiment with new things. And we've been engaged by them. In fact, we've won tenders to do both a smart device and a smart speaker solution for them, which we've been working on here for the last 18 months or so, and we'll be here for another couple of years while they'll evaluate it and decide whether it's a good thing to go forward with or not. But they've been very excited about the entire concept of voice.
Excellent. Gives everyone something to look forward to.
And the Library of Congress is the biggest library in the world, audio library in the world for visually impaired people. And they're also a signatory to the Marrakesh Treaty. So these are fairly exciting times for people that deal in voice and content.
A lot of the resources seem to be, and I don't know what the UK services are, but a lot of the, like the Gutenbergs and the LibriVox, they tend to be like, they're open domain, sort of classic type books. You guys have any plans on expanding that to, how do I want to say, more modern books?
Oh, look at, things that aren't in the public domain, absolutely. So we have other libraries on there as well. So the Calibre Audio Library, if I want to listen to Harry Potter, I can. The Library of Congress is the same deal. Eventually we'll have that available in the US, and there's plenty of other libraries. In fact, the only thing that in some ways holds us back is that everyone wants the blockbusters. So sometimes having more libraries doesn't actually get you more titles. It just gets you titles with your accent. Obviously, if you're in California, you want to hear Harry Potter with an American accent. If you're in London, you want to hear it with a British accent. If you're in Australia, you want to hear it in an Australian accent.
Imagining Harry Potter as an Aussie.
And just to make it very clear to listeners, obviously this isn't something like Audible where you're downloading something that has been narrated. This is something that is clearly using the voice that's within the system or within your Google device or within whatever you're listening to it on.
No, actually, not true, Marco. It's both types. So we handle text and audio, which creates its own kind of set of complexities, because an audio stream is an audio stream. So the example that I'll show you will be an audio. In fact, in a little while, I'll bring up the speaker and I'll read a little bit of Harry Potter, and that's absolutely an audio stream. So the narrator on that will be a British narrator, as compared to if I was reading a textbook, I would get an American narrator because I'm here and I need American voices. So we can do both types.
Brilliant. Well, I'm sure that'll excite people a lot, because some people love having it narrated by an actual human, and others, like myself, I'm not really fussed either way, to be perfectly frank. As long as I can read it, then for me, I mean, you can get decent enough voices in my mind that are already automated to do the job, so I'm not too fussy in that regard.
The only area where so my wife reads a lot of audiobooks, and the advice I get from her is that the only thing she doesn't like is where the narrator changes. So in some of the open source libraries, you've got a change of narrator every chapter.
Yeah, I find that really annoying as well. Once you get used to somebody, whether you like them or not, then if you get a completely opposite, even accent or voice or whatever, it's very disconcerting, I reckon.
There's things that it's new. We're working on it constantly. We're trying to improve it. We're finding new things. We're having a conversation the other day about what do you call a word that sounds the same as another word and means the same, but it's spelt differently. And there isn't actually a word for that in the English language. It's kind of like a homonym, but it's not, because that problem didn't exist until the advent of computer-based voices. So, because we have this sometimes, like if our speaker in the US is expecting an American accent, not an Australian accent. So sometimes if I'm not speaking well, if I'm mumbling a bit and I say realSAM, sometimes it recognises that as real salmon. I don't really mind that much. What I do mind is that those mishearings, and I called them mishearings. One of our tech guys pointed out that sometimes they're not so much mishearings because we're using commercial devices, in this case with the speakers, if it mishears something that's actually close to the truth, close to an ad word, it can mishear it as an ad word. So I don't just get red salmon, which it doesn't know what to deal with, a real salmon, but sometimes I get real Santa. And real Santa is and I haven't said real Santa, but it's an entire app in its own right. So it's and that's a bit surprising sometimes to get that.
Are there ways of avoiding that for users who might experience that?
The voice interface is fantastic, but what I always say is it's not a great interface for someone who has an incredibly strong accent or dialect. And it's not a great interface for people that have speech impediments. And there's not really much we can do about that. And in the case of the speakers, we're using an Amazon or a Google product initially. So what they hear is what we have to work with. The only thing I ever say to people is life's a bit easier if you speak clearly.
And then before we get on to the demo, just a couple more questions. You said something about textbooks. And if someone wants to upload a textbook, for example, for a student or a group of students or something, is that possible with the realSAM, or is it just using those libraries?
We don't have the facility for people to upload their libraries at the moment, but we do have some interesting things in the pipeline. We have a relationship with Bookshare and their library of textbooks. So they've got, I believe, Bookshare's near on 1 million titles at the moment, and we'll bring that onto the platform at some stage this year. We also have a talent that I'm actually personally particularly proud of, because I was the one who kind of articulated and said, I think it should work like this, which is called Tell Me About. So you can say, tell me about an organisation name, and we can have a large variety of information that they have. So it's a slightly clunky, but you could actually upload an audiobook yourself and have that available and come out of the speaker if you wanted to. It was designed so that if you say something like, tell me about Galloway's Society for the Blind, it will tell you about Galloway's. It'll give you a bit of information on them. It'll hook you up with their podcast, tell you their phone number, their website address, etc. Or the charity Galloway's is in the county of Lancashire. So if you said, tell me about Lancashire, it would tell you about Galloway's and also other interesting things for the community that are happening in Lancashire.
I think the two things that I'd be most keen to see is that, I don't know if you guys are looking at doing this or not, but obviously linking up public libraries that are, for example, you being a Melburnian as well, local libraries that you go to. I've got one here in Glen Huntly, which has got thousands of titles. There's all sorts of libraries in Camberwell or wherever you happen to be. Is that something that you guys are looking at doing, actually linking up public libraries which already have audio books as well? And obviously you may get double ups, if you get my drift, or triple ups.
Our endpoint is to be a one-stop shop for content for visually impaired people, no matter where they are on the planet. And that creates some complexities for us. For instance, there's lots of double ups in terms of words. So organisations share names so that if you're in Scotland and you say, tell me about visibility, you want to hear about the Scottish charity. If you're in Perth, Australia, you want to hear about visibility, the charity there. In terms of the libraries, we would like to have lots of libraries on. So the way our model works is that people can do a general search, or they can choose a library. So if you've got things going on at the Camberwell Library, or the Glen Huntley Library, we want to be able to hook that up for you, and so that you can access that directly and their titles. However, you may find that you're actually much better off just accessing one of the larger libraries. So in Australia, the Vision Australia Library has got lots of titles. They've got access to the Bookshare feed. They're a subscriber to the Marrakesh Treaty, which means they'll be downloading other people's libraries from other parts of the world. So you may find, in theory, you like the idea of the Glen Huntley local library, but in practice, they may have 2,000 to 1,000 titles when you can go to another library that's got 100,000 titles.
And I guess the issue also you're probably going to encounter, I would imagine, is that, for example, Vision Australia already uses their own app, which in my view is rather clunky anyway. But so I guess trying to hook that in, whether they would allow you to do so, etc. I guess there's a lot of hurdles that you'd have to jump with different libraries in terms of being able to access their content.
I was speaking to the IT manager at Vision Australia about 2 weeks ago, and then we've engaged with them in the past. Things are, we need to change some things around at the moment, but I think they indicated to me that they had 17 different libraries, 17 different platforms accessing their information. So certainly they like to offer their own device, and they think it's a great device, and they think their app is great. But they don't stop other people from doing it, because it's about I get everyone is in the same boat. It's about benefiting the community at large. So we make decisions that are not commercially the most optimum decision, but they're the right decision for the community.
Well, could you give us a demo of what realSAM sounds like, how to use it, or anything like that?
Hey, Google, talk to realSAM.
This is realSAM Service UK Speaker, version the 16th of March 2021. Speaker release January 18th. Sorry, without linking your account, you cannot access realSAM. Bye for now.
So someone's just changed stuff. Oh, that was a good demo.
I was going to say, it was also a couple of days behind too, which is a bit concerning.
The dates on the front is something we've been talking about, that we need to change them. They reflect the version. They reflect the software versions when they come out. So in fact, there's two components. There's the server software and the local software, which is why there's 2 dates and they're different dates. But we've just said, look, that's the engineering team doing that. It's not useful for patrons. It's just confusing. I'll try that again. Hey, Google, talk to realSAM.
Sorry, realSAM had an internal error.
Unfortunately, that's a terrible demonstration. So what I'm going to do now is to fire up one of our other devices, which connects in a different way.
Just for our listeners, just so you know that when he is saying talk to realSAM, it's the same way that you go to talk to any other, I always forget what they're called on Google, any other
it's not a skill, it's like action, I guess.
Action.
Yeah.
There we go. Any other action. So if you were going to talk to Domino's, or talk to a pizza place, or talk to
well, over here it's like Melbourne Public Transport, or
talk
whatever.
to transport or anything like that, it's the same thing.
It's exactly the same way. The only difference is that once you start engaging with the realSAM app, that's the end of, we don't work within the Google structure or the Alexa structure to deliver the functionality. Once you start talking to realSAM, our dialogue server takes over, which means that we have a vast amount of power. We can make it do anything. So I'm going to demonstrate to you our realSAM Pocket device, which has a very similar interface and is working fine at the moment. So I can say, read me a book about Harry Potter.
Note, you have a new message. Say, read messages. To read, RNAB library, books on Harry Potter. 12 remaining, 5 coming up. 1. The Magical Worlds of Harry Potter by David Colbert. 2. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. 3. Harry Potter.
Number 2.
Great. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. Say, yes, at any time to begin reading this book. This is the synopsis. Harry Potter wakes up with his scar burning and can't stop worrying about this.
Yes.
Now reading. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Just started section 4. 2% into the book.
Down into his stomach at the very thought. He closed his eyes tightly and tried to remember what Voldemort had looked like. But it was impossible. All Harry knew was that at the moment...
Pause.
I heard pools and cannot process it.
Cancel.
Sorry.
Cancel. It's one of the challenges of
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Say continue to continue.
It's doing technology on a stage, firstly, because that's when it decides it wants to play up. And the issue that I always have is that everything I'm doing in the US, but with an Australian accent.
Yeah, I get the same thing here using Google. Well, you would have had that as well. Sometimes you'll say open such, and it just doesn't understand you. It's weird.
I have to say weird things. So when I ask the device for information, rather than saying device, I have to say device because it expects me to pronounce it differently.
So when you're using the device, are you able to, when you're playing books, can you access the table of contents? Can you jump around the book? What kind of controls do you have?
Let's have a look. Continue.
Okay, continuing. Just started section 4. 2% into the book.
And when Voldemort's chair had swung around and...
Where am I?
You are at your house.
Oh, and actually, it might, maybe.
You are close to 4,400.
Let's try that again. Continue.
Fine. Reading. Just started section 4. 2% into the book.
He, Harry, had seen
Okay.
what was sitting in it.
List contents.
Sorry, I missed that. Did you say list radios?
List contents.
Brendan, I got confused. Say list radios
listed.
or list news.
Contents.
I got contents.
I know. See,
and I'm not sure what
just
that
decided
means
to
right
fight
now.
with me. So
Reading.
let's go.
Harry,
Jump forward 10.
great. Jump forward. Reading. Halfway through section 4. 3% into the book.
He was hoping that they might invite him to stay any...
Jump forward 10.
Whilst you're doing that, can you stop it from reiterating everything you tell it? Like, can you just say jump forward 10 and it just jumps forward, or does it have to reiterate, like respond back that way? Because that, to me, I would find that irritating because I already know that it's going to jump forward 10. Do you know what I mean?
So there's two things going on there. Firstly, it does tell you what it's doing, and we find that the demographic that we generally work with is older people, and they find it very reassuring that it's heard them correctly. The other thing is that's going on is that it's actually starting the process anyway. So it's doing things in the background. So you can either have silence or you can have voice. It's not making the device wait. It's speaking to you at the same time. It's actually doing things. So from our point of view, we could have silence, we could have a couple of dots, we could have a little bit of music going, but we think it's probably all in all a lot more useful to tell you what it's doing. Continue.
Okay. Moving on. Just started section 5. 4%.
Next section.
Sure. Continuing. Section 6. 5% into the book.
Chapter 4.
What sections do you have?
These are the 40 sections. Say 1 for section 1, titled Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Say 2 for section 2, titled Introduction. Say 3 for section 3, titled Chapter 1, The Riddle House. Say 4 for section 4, titled Chapter 2, The Scar. Say
Cancel. So one of the challenges that we face is that books are encoded in lots of different formats and in different ways. So some books are very well organized and they have navigation points throughout them. They fit with standards. They have navigation points. So you can say go to chapter 5 and the book will go to chapter 5. In most cases, or in a large majority of books though, we don't know what the files consist of. So therefore we address the book in terms of sections. So generally, when people want to read a book, we say go to go to section 3 or section 4, somewhere along there. That's actually going to be where the book actually starts. The first section is the title, the author's notes, maybe a list of characters, things like that. So you can jump around. You can say previous section, next section. You can list the sections you have. You can go to sections as I showed you there. You can jump forward. You can jump backwards. And this is with the pocket device that I'm demonstrating. It's also what we call a multi-threaded device, which means other things that can happen at the same time. So and as you saw when I first started up, it told me, I asked it to do something, and it said, by the way, you've got an unread message, because I'd had the device turned off. So it could tell me about that and then kept on doing what it was doing. And just as equally, I could also listen to the radio. I could be listening to the radio. I get a phone call. I finish with a phone call. It goes back to the radio. Maybe I'm listening to a newspaper. I could read today's newspaper. Read me The Guardian.
Brendan, you are reading The Guardian of today. There are 91 unread articles in the news section. Headlines: 1. Relatives issue legal threat to force inquiry. 2. COVID jabs for under...
Find articles about Boris Johnson.
Okay, searching for articles about Boris Johnson. Brendan, you are reading The Guardian from today. The first page of 11 unread headlines from the search results section. 1. Relatives issue legal threat to force inquiry. 2. Prepare for low emission liftoff, the hybrid aiming to propel aviation into the future. 3. Bereaved need answers, says Labour in call for full pandemic.
3.
I got 3, and I'm not sure what that means right now.
Go back. So actually, this is a good example of, in this case, the book, the Harry Potter book that I started streaming to you was an audio recording. So it was an audio book. The newspaper is all text. So we're reading. So it's the text to speech engine that's converting it. So it's doing it in that voice. I could say, change voices.
You can use one of the following voices. Hello, I am voice number 1.
Hello, I am voice number 2.
Number 2.
Sure, I will use this voice from now on. You are reading The Guardian headlines. Please select one or say next for more headlines.
Next.
Splendid. There are 6 remaining search results headlines. 1. Police will be told to collect data on crimes motivated by misogyny. 2. Civil servants rebuked for leak of RAB's human rights.
Speak faster.
Sure, I will use this speed now. You are reading The Guardian headlines. Please.
Speak very fast.
No problem, Brendan. I'll talk like this now. You are reading The Guardian headlines. Please select one or say next for more headlines.
Speak normal.
Okay, Brendan. I'll talk this speed now.
You know, it always makes me laugh, you know, when you put it on extra fast, when you go back to normal, it always sounds slow. I did have one question, actually, as you were playing, and I'm certainly into reading The Guardian myself, actually. I do like reading The Guardian. If you have a newspaper, now let's say, for example, over here in Australia, as you probably know, and I know that you can't do that here with the papers over here, but eventually, obviously, you can. You've got a lot of newspapers over here that are via subscription. How will that handle if you're not subscribed? Obviously, you can only collect, and it probably happens over there in the UK as well with some papers, you can only collect the articles that you don't have to subscribe to, I assume. Is that correct?
What it does is connects to the articles that we have a feed for. So it's more of a technical issue than a licensing issue. So in Australia, the Vision Australia feed we use in the UK, we use the feed from RNIB newsagents. In the US, we've been talking to the National Federation of the Blind and their Newsline product and getting their feed. They're just feeds. So we're not chasing individual newspapers. And the reason that we kind of don't is it has a lot to do with technical complexity, because most of these organizations, they don't have a complex disciplined technical environment. They have people that are volunteers making things happen. So we go to the aggregators of news content that are well organized and well tight, and they maybe they have an API for their device. They'll have documentation for it. They'll say if there's a problem, they'll have people be able to troubleshoot it. I know that from first-hand experience that in our UK environment, we actually have there's a couple of talking newspaper organisations, which is literally people in their front room recording a newspaper onto a cassette tape and then sending it out. There's quite a number doing it to USB sticks, but literally there's 2 or 3 that are still recording onto cassettes and sending them to people.
Yeah, they used to do that in Tasmania over here. They actually used to, and this stopped, I think, in the late 90s, but occasionally you'll still be able to download books where somebody's recorded it onto a cassette, and you can hear birds twittering, someone whistling. It's absolutely hilarious. It's brilliant. Now, I guess my final question is sort of time is marching on, I guess. Is this available around the world, only in the UK? And I guess what's the pricing structure for the subscription?
At this moment in time, it's available for sale from our UK shop. It's not available from our US shop or Australia. The speaker's not available for sale as yet, although there is content on it that's global at the moment. So things like the Calibre audio library is a global library, and there's a lot of issues around there that we need to resolve. So there will be speaker versions in Australia and in the US before Christmas. There will be versions of realSAM Pocket in the US within the next probably 3 months. There'll be versions of realSAM Pocket back in Australia. We've had a device there, and we're actually doing a major upgrade of what we're doing at the moment. And again, by Christmas, we'll have those devices back in. It would be true to say that the speaker's price is probably what you pay for Netflix, and that's kind of a guiding point for us. In the UK, a brand new speaker user is paying £9.95 a month. We're making changes, and it's a little bit lumpy at launch, as you can just see from the demo I did earlier. And so we have a launch deal of £19.90 for the first 12 months. So, and that, that's as much as you can eat. You can stream 10,000 books in that time if you want to for that £19.90. For existing users of In Your Pocket, it's only an extra $3.95 to add that onto their subscription. I haven't finalised pricing in the US or Australia yet, but for the speaker, it'll be effectively similar to Netflix.
Do you have any other pieces of information for us, or anything that you're working on coming up, or anything that you'd like our listeners to know?
I think it's fairly exciting times for the visually impaired community. It's just making things more accessible and more accessible. So we focus generally on an older demographic. People have suffered or living with sight losses. They've 65, 70, 80. In fact, we've got users up until 99 as our oldest, because the voice interface is a lot easier to use and a lot easier to master than triple taps and swipes and things like that with a standard phone in accessibility mode. But what we've also discovered with launching the speaker is
Did he go away? What happened? Did it cut out?
Yeah, it looks like Nimmer's dropped out, but he's back, I think. There we go. We've got you back, Nim.
Oh, excellent. I just dropped out. Very good.
Yeah, you did.
My browser just crashed.
Yeah, we heard. Yes, very good.
Anyway, we were about towards the end of the interview.
Yeah, we were
anyway,
towards the end of it anyway.
I think if you want to listen to the rest of that, maybe check out the live podcast, because the real recording will be in the live podcast.
It'll be a little bit difficult to find where we were, because the interview does go for quite a while, and we were just about there, so very good.
We were towards the very end anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and play the second part where you can actually hear the speaker working.
Oh, very good. I'm interested to hear that.
Yeah, me as well.
And, okay, let's see here. All right, let's pull that up. All right, so this goes for about 3 minutes, so not too long.
Happy days.
Share screen. Chrome tab. All right, here we go, guys.
Okay, Google, talk to realSAM.
This is realSAM Service UK Speaker, version the 19th of March 2021. Speaker release January 18th. Brendan, you can now ask, for instance, read me a book or user guide.
Read me a book about Harry Potter.
Listing books about Harry Potter in the caliber source. First 5 of hundreds. 1. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, by J.K. Rowling. 2. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, by J.K. Rowling. 3. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, by J.K. Rowling. 4. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone,
Hey,
by
Google.
J.K. Rowling.
2.
You selected Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Say, play, or, go back, or, add to my bookshelf. Description, Harry is now in the 6th form at Hogwarts.
Hey, Google.
But these are...
Play.
This book is on 123 tracks. The running time is approximately 20 and a half hours. This book belongs to Calibre Audio Library and is copied under license for the exclusive use of members of Calibre. It is illegal to copy or alter this recording.
Hey, Google, jump forward 3.
When the wretched man would telephone and trying to suppress unpleasant memories of what had been a very long,
Hey, Google,
tiring and...
jump back 1.
This book is on 123 tracks. The running time is approximately 20 and a half hours. This book belongs to Calibre Audio Library and is copied under license for the exclusive use of members of Calibre. It is illegal to copy or alter this recording.
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Hey, Google, pause.
By J.
Hey, Google, resume.
Chapter 1. The Other Minister. It was nearing midnight, and the Prime Minister was sitting alone in his office,
Hey, Google,
reading a long...
list sections.
He was waiting for a call from the President of a far distant country, and between wondering when...
All right, so as you heard...
I heard a nice loud sign. I thought I might have been in India with a truck there. I don't know. It was quite interesting. But I have to say, and I will make this comment now and again. This is our opinions, I guess, Nim, or my opinion anyway. Tell you what, there's a hell of a delay between the response.
Yeah.
And I noticed that in the original recording because I didn't cut that out just so that listeners could hear it. There's a lengthy delay. And the other thing I noticed as well is that the speaker isn't as verbose as the, whatever he called the pocket... I guess it was on his phone or something, wasn't it? I think he did it.
I know it's an actual hardware device. It's this pocket.
Yeah.
It is actually a phone, but it's an actual device that they sell in the UK,
okay.
Or maybe they give it away. I don't quite know if they sell it or give it away, but whatever it is, that's what it is. So.
What it is, yeah. Interesting.
I think it's a good service for seniors. I think if you're a senior or if you're just someone who wants to read your audiobooks through the smart speaker. Here in the U.S., there's some possible talk about potentially bringing it over to the Library of Congress and in Australia.
I have heard Vision Australia talking about it as well. They've mentioned it, but there hasn't been much about it of yet. So
if these things are able to come, and it's literally been very restricted, at least here, the Library of Congress has been very restricted to their particular players. You can't really play them on a computer. It's been very, very restricted. And so I'm glad to see possible direction towards getting these on smart speakers, and I think it'll make it easier for people to play these. Yeah, I do think there are definite work to go with some of the verboseness and some of the lag and some of the issues with it not working. It seems like he's using a developer release though. And as we know, developer releases always, have a fun time. At least I'm guessing he is. I don't know because his software said updated March 19th. And
the other thing that I'd like to see done, because when I read a book, and I know a lot of people, or some people don't do this, but I certainly do, I like to have my books a lot faster. I tend to speed them up, like maybe even like that was, to me, that is so slow that I would literally probably have it double or triple speed. Because sitting there for 20 hours listening to that would just about end it all.
He did say that there was ability to change speech rates, I think. No.
Yeah, speech rates you can, but I'm not sure about we didn't really discuss the book rate, whether you could change that.
I think he said that you can, but one of the things I think we should all remember too is that this, in any tech product, may not necessarily be for me, and it may not be for you, but it is for an audience who, so when we talk about, I think it's too verbose, it certainly is verbose. But there are a lot of people who really want or need that verboseness.
That feedback,
And if you are one person that benefits from that type of feedback, this is a great option, potentially a great option. And same with low speech rates. I love speeding things up, but if you're a user, there's a lot of blind people or non-blind people who just like to read things at their normal rate or slow or whatever. And that's,
well, I'll be honest with you, I would actually use the service. I actually think it's not a bad service at all. It's kind of like a Victor, but a sort of new age, I guess, using it on a Google speaker, etc. But what I would really like to see the company do, and I think they should really think about it, is yes, we cater for the more seniors, but also think about catering for everyone else. And like we talk about on shows, have options that allow the user to have it how they want it. That would be pretty cool. Because if I could have, like, for example, for me, less verbose, allowing to speed up books, and it being able to read newspaper articles and books from wherever I wanted to read them, and if libraries do get on board and publications, magazine, newspaper publications get on board, I'd pay for it. I think it'd be quite handy to have.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It looks like Live Accessible says I would, he writes a comment in here, I'd rather have silence or a chime. Yeah, some of the sounds were interesting. It would be nice to have those configurable, but again, we have to remember who the audience is. So,
and it's a developer release.
I did find it very funny, and I'm not sure because it didn't come through on the. It'll come through a lot clearer when you listen to it on the podcast. But when he asked it to play, I think the book when he said play Harry Potter, it started clucking, which I found very funny. That was kind of cool, and I was like, cool. Okay.
But some people want chimes, some don't want those sounds.
You're never going to please everyone. This is the thing. Like, it's never. There's always going to be somebody who says, "Oh, I'd rather have a hen cluck or something or whatever." You know, whatever.
And that's where customization, where you can have it, would be useful. I find it. I agree with you, Marco. I find it way too verbose.
Yeah.
I personally, and I get there's people that need that feedback, but it comes back to having the customization options because I don't want to hear fast forwarding 3 seconds.
Yeah,
I know that.
I just don't think I don't think this kind of service is necessarily for you and me personally. I mean, maybe they are, but I don't. I think
it could be made though. I think it could be made to be
possibly, but
usable.
It's not, and that's the thing. Like, I would never pay this amount of money for a monthly service that lets me access these books when I could access Bookshare at a much reduced rate, for example.
Sure.
And read those books in Braille or text-to-speech or whatever it is, or access Bard directly for free. On whatever player that I want. I would not actually pay for this kind of service. This is not made for me. They maybe could do work to add more customizations, but I have to think that this service is intended for people who would benefit from verboseness and who would benefit from slower speech rates and that kind of thing, and that's okay. Like, if
and the other thing that Brendan,
that's okay.
And Brendan did make it fairly clear, I think, that it was. I guess it's more aimed at the senior side of the population, which is fine. That's nothing wrong with that.
And
I think it would definitely work.
I can think of a few of my friends personally who would. I mean, like, it's not the product for me for all the reasons we've talked about, but I know a lot of people who would really eat this up.
That's right.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So, but no, thank you, Brendan.
Thing is to note is the fees on that. Like at least here in the U.S., if they're going to charge that amount of money for it, but their library that they're using here is Bard or the LibriVox and all that. Those libraries are free. And so I'm not so sure that I'd be willing to pay $20 a month or $30 a month to access books on a smart speaker.
Yeah.
But again, this isn't really targeted at me, but I don't know. I probably wouldn't actually pay to access this kind of a service on a smart speaker.
And again, it's a similar sort of thing here with Vision Australia. You've got the app, which as I said in the interview, and I'm sorry to those that do like the app, I think is exceedingly clunky and painful. That's just my view of it. But anyway, but again, you can get hundreds of thousands of titles on that for free. So if they are partnering up, I understand that obviously it'll make it available on the smart speaker, but you can get that stuff for free anyway. So yeah, be interesting. But congratulations to them, and Brendan, I hope you do come back with further on that one. I will make one final point that I did notice on that reply, that I think he said for it to go forward 3, which I assume is 3 minutes.
But then when he asked it to what number it is,
yeah. But then when he asked it to go back 1, it seemed to go back to the beginning. So I would have thought that, I'd assume it was 3 minutes. I don't actually know, but it's
hard to know. Like when he was saying 3, I'm not sure what that means.
Is that minutes?
There's some of the.
I'm thinking.
No, definitely. Well,
no, it wasn't seconds because
some of the phrases that were being used are. Like certain things would work and certain things wouldn't. I think they would probably benefit from expanding their lexicon, their vocabulary.
Yeah, and their contents thing. I know that Brendan tried to bring that up quite a lot, and for some reason it didn't like contents, even in the at the end there. So I don't know. Anyway, it's as you said though, Nim, it's in beta. So let's see what happens over the next little while with the product.
Live accessible. It would be cool to have Bard on Alexa. Well, this is exactly what that would do. This service is exactly what that would do.
It is. It's Alexa, a skill. It's a skill or an action for Google, and you'll be able to use it. But you have to pay, as he said, Netflix price, which I guess is about $9 a month, and you could use it. So, but wait for it
I
though.
Think it's closer to $20 a month. But anyway, whatever
was
it is,
20 or whatever it was. Yeah, it was quite a bit. Yeah.
It was 20 for the year, and he said 9 a month.
Yeah, but 20 for the year is the intro price.
That's the intro price. You have to get it now.
Beginning intro price. So.
Yeah. So it might be worth getting it for $20 a year just to see where it goes. But who knows where it'll be in a year.
Something maybe worth trying out, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, it seems like it's in infancy, at least here. Certainly in the States, it's not even released, but maybe in the UK. But maybe check it out, especially if you're in the UK. Check it out.
Or if you've got a VPN, I suppose you can check it out as well. Not that you heard me say that.
Very bad.
Yeah. All right, have we got a submission or something? You said something about a submission that we have to go through.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm going to do my very best to read this.
Oh, good.
I'm going to read it as it was written.
Oh.
And I think I'm going to mute Marco and Kurt and Dennis for this one.
All right.
Otherwise, I may never get through reading it. Mute. There we go. Otherwise, I'll never get through reading it because I'm sure they'll be cackling. All right, so let's. I'm going to do my best to read this, and I want to thank the person who sent it in. So it says here, first question: what do you think of the Blind Tech Guys podcast? I love it so much. Please keep it up. I will never, ever stop listening. listening. Listening twice. Never stop listening to this podcast with the number 2. 5 out of 5 stars. Send me a RSS feed to put on my Victor Reader stream. And Podcatcher, Podcatch Juice Podcaster. I am I can't pronounce the name. Chico Di Naca Agulito. I love this podcast. I will spread the word, tell my friends, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, and tell the world about this podcast and how the number 2, subscribe, the number 2, this Blind Tech Guys podcast. And then the next question says, what do you think of the podcast hosts? The response says, you guys rock. I will tell all my friends, the number 2, tune in. I love them. LISIN, listen to other podcasts just like Blind Tech Guys. Let's see, Eyes on Success, Nations Blind, and others like BTGs, even TC Talking Computers and PC Computer Guy podcast, among others. I am Chico De Naca Agulito. I love the hosts of the Blind Tech Guys podcast. I have other questions. Have a nice day. And this is from Chico Di Naca Kismat Agulito. All right.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah.
Marco, you're not supposed to make me laugh.
Yeah. What about the other question? Is there more? Very good.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
So no, there are no other questions. That was all.
Okay. Chico, you are a star, my friend. I'm very impressed with your... you must be from Brazil or Mexico or somewhere. But thank you so much for sending that in. Thank God we're multi-tracking. Very good. And, yeah.
Glad you enjoy our podcast so much there.
Yeah. That was amazing that we got that feedback from... from Chico. Very good.
No, I just have to ask Nimmer, were you reading that off of a braille display? Or?
No, I was reading that with my keyboard.
Very good.
I don't think I could have read that on a braille display. I needed speech to help me pronounce some of the words, because otherwise it would have been a little tough.
Well, thank you, Chico, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Very good. Yeah. I think that's all I can say to that.
I haven't laughed.
Chico De Naca, thank you so much for your feedback. We definitely appreciate your email, and we hope that you'll tune in again. And definitely share it out with your friends.
Maybe
thank
not
you
after this one.
listening.
Yeah, very good.
And yes, also, if you guys want to... these guys are having a good chuckle. Very good.
Damn you, Marco. I was under control for a minute. And
I've actually got tears of joy from that email. I really have. It's wonderful.
I haven't laughed so hard in ages.
Live Accessible is rolling on the floor laughing, so he's having fun too.
Thank you, Live Accessible. Or she. Yes. Yes. Anyway, what were you saying there, Nimmer, about something accessible? Or something else? I can't remember now.
No, I'm saying that if you'd like to leave us some feedback, please check out our website, blindtechguys.com, and we'll definitely read it as you present it. So if you want to, present us an email, definitely put your thoughts in there. We appreciate any feedback. Let us know what you thought of today's host, or anyone else that you'd like us to see us interview, or anything else that you want to see us cover. Definitely send that along. We also appreciate donations, so you can send those along. There's a donate link, and there are some more tiers now, so you can sign up. And
tiers, TEERS, yes.
Like the ones that you have right now.
Not Marco tiers.
Although I think that's Maybe not how you spell that one. I don't know.
No,
Isn't it
I don't know.
TIER?
I don't know. It might be with the number 2. But anyway, yes, very good. Yes.
So anyway, if you want to leave us donations, that would be appreciated. There are different tiers, and if you would like to donate, if you'd like to sponsor an episode or a month of the podcast, and you're a business or something like that, there's a tier in there for you that covers our costs, and you can certainly do that. We would definitely appreciate that, and we'd be happy to promote you and your business as well. And if you'd like to send us some things to review or give us ideas of what we should review, definitely send those along too. You can fill out our form submission, blindtechguys.com. Send us an email, contact@blindtechguys.com. We do have a mailing list. blindtechguys plus subscribe@gmail.com is the mailing list.
Googlegroups.com.
Googlegroups.com.
What did I say? Gmail?
Gmail.
Blind Tech Guys plus subscribe at googlegroups.com. And you can find that link on the website as well. But also follow us on Facebook. We have a group on there that is pretty dead, but you can help make it more lively. It does have something like 109 people on there now, but you can certainly help make it a little bit more lively. That would be wonderful.
Group. Yeah.
And we have a Telegram group that's pretty active, with about 6 of us being pretty active on there. We got 100 and some odd people in there. We've got a Twitter, tweet when we remember to tweet things.
Yeah, that one's sometimes dead, but it kind of exists and works as I guess Twitter should work, really.
We do have a Twitter. And if you enjoyed this episode and you enjoy the Blind Tech Guys, feel free to tweet us and let us know, or just post our episode on Twitter with the #brown Blind Tech Guys. And
Hashtag.
oh, yeah.
The #brown. Wow.
Shit.
Oh, dear. Well, we've had a really fun episode today. You can see that it's been a long one, ladies and gents. So I'm going to say bon voyage on this end, and we'll catch you next week.
Absolutely.
Live Accessible, how did you start the podcast? I'd love to hear your story sometime. Yeah, we'll probably post that for like the 100th episode.
Yeah,
or something in the history of Blind Tech
that
Guys.
might be in about 20 weeks or so. 22 weeks. Yeah.
Maybe at 100.
Yeah,
or you can always join one of our groups and we'll definitely talk to you about it.
Yeah,
If
it's
you're
a long
developer
story.
as well, and you want your app featured, or do get in touch with us. We would love to feature it. If you want an app featured, let us know.
We will give you a fair and honest review. Now, what we'll do is we'll tell people about it. We'll tell people how to use it. And then towards the end of that, we will share our views on the app. But we'll try to give you a very fair review of your app. And so if you appreciate that from us, definitely let us know and get in touch. And
the other thing I was going to say to
say hello to
accessible,
us sometimes, definitely leave us a recording. That would be good too.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say to is it live and accessible. If you want to know about the history of the podcast, maybe go to blindtechguys.com/episodes and just click on episode 1. And I'm pretty sure that Walker gives a pretty good renaissance. Probably goes for about 10 minutes as to how him and Nimmer started it all off. I'm pretty sure that's where it all sort of kicks off. So very good.
I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and your listenership has definitely been appreciated. Benjamin, Pedro, hi, you're happy pooches. LOL. Yeah, we're happy pooches.
Yes, we're very happy today. Don't you worry. Wow.
Live Accessible, #brown rolling on the floor laughing. Yeah. Live Accessible, how can I join the Telegram? Go to blindtechguys.com, and at the bottom of the page there's a Telegram link.
We'll be good
and
to
you're
have
more
you
than
in
welcome
there.
to join. Yeah, we'll be good to have you in there. And we do
there's
have
also
a lot of
a
good
WhatsApp
laughs in
one,
there,
and then there's a Signal one, and there's everything's down the bottom. Look at the bottom of the page, and you'll find all you need there.
That's right.
For what you need. So.
And we are working on a website that may or may not ever take off. We'll see. I'm having a fun time with WordPress. I'm used to Drupal. I don't know the first thing about WordPress, so I'm having a good time. And the struggle yesterday was spending 20 minutes just figuring out how to log in. So
oh no, the login was the fun part. But then what about the enabling cookies? Very good. That took another 15. Yes, it was all great. I brought back happy memories of the old WordPress site I used to have. So yeah.
So if you know anything about WordPress and you want to be part of contributing towards the website, definitely get in touch. I'd be happy to accept any kind of help that you can to drive me more sane, because I'm insane when I work with WordPress. I am used to I'm used to Drupal, but Marco and the rest of the team know nothing about Drupal, and there's a little bit harder to update stuff. So I think we'll probably do WordPress, but I need your help. So if you know anything about WordPress, get in touch. And we'll see what we can do. All right. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you, Marco. Glad your floors are done and you had a good laugh. And maybe now you're
thank you, Nimmer. I'm a lot more awake now than what I was. I had a coffee and feeling far more happy than what I was. Actually, it was quite funny. I had a little snooze. And this is the problem of having a little snooze. You always wake up and you feel like shit. So it just reminds you that you probably should just hold off until later. But anyway, happy days, goodbye, and good luck, everyone.
At least you don't feel like two shits. Yeah, thank you guys. And thank you, Dennis.
Yeah, that's been and gone.
Oh, gosh.
Thanks, Dennis, for joining us. And thank you, Kurt, for joining us as well. We'll see you guys next week.
Alrighty,
All
have a
right.
good week, everybody.
So long, everybody.
Oh, wow, we have 6 people watching now, just as we're going to end.
Wow, as we're ending? Jeez.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.